what's the difference of raising 75 basis points rather than 50 basis points?
I think it's more of the sticker shock than anything else, even though it's probably not that big of a, when you think about it from a monetary standpoint, it's not that huge of a difference. But from a sticker shock, news flash, those 25 basis points make a difference. People react differently.
Welcome back to the program. I'm David Maggard, your host. My co-host here, Ralph Pena, Managing Director of Colliers. Ralph, how are you, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. Got a bunch of articles lined up here today. Today is June the 16th. I don't know why I just said that because it's be coming out next week. We'll cut that out anyways. But anyways, let's talk some real estate, Ralph Pena.
Go for it.
Well, I think I have the first article, and it goes something about, does Prologis Duke deal signal industrial peak? Let me open this up. Industrial is pretty much, the number 2 favorite, I don't know about saying in the world or the nation, but I'm definitely in South Florida.
For sure.
Right behind, multifamily. It says, this is from CoStar, and does Prologis Duke deal signal industrial peak? Analysis shows office risk high in suburbs, and IBF hospitality refinancing heads to investors. So this is kind of like a conglomerate of CMBS loans that we're going to look at. This is a weekly look at the commercial mortgage-backed security business. That is what CMBS stands for. Let me bring us both up here. There we go. So it says something like this. This is by Mark Heschmeyer, CoStar News. And it says, reactions from the Wall Street analyst to Prologis $26 million agreement.
Billion.
Sorry, yeah,
Billion,
exactly.
dude, 26 million. We'd
good,
be all in for this.
That's a good correction right there, man. 26 billion. That's with a B, people. Agreement to acquire Duke Realty were generally positive for both industrial real estate investment trusts. However, investment in Prologis stock have not been so favorable. The REIT's stock is down from about $173 per share in late April before Duke rejected an offer, and fell further this week to about $111. That drop has some observers speculating about what the deal says about the state of the industrial real estate. So, we're always talking about industrial real estate.
Right.
They're building a lot of it, here in Miami-Dade. We're kind of running out of land to build it in Miami-Dade and in Broward.
Right.
We're seeing more in Palm Beach County, and then we're seeing even more the next county north of that, which is Port St. Lucie County.
Yeah, both Martin and St. Lucie, where we're starting to see a lot of the growth right now. I'm getting more bids and activities in Fort Pierce, St. Lucie area, north of Jupiter as well, Martin County. But what's interesting to see all this, I'm curious, which I don't think this article goes into much details. These are not all in South Florida. These are scattered all around nationwide, correct?
No, this is South Florida. So it says, in the CMBS market, industrial loans are riding high. Delinquencies, and this is a great kind of topic to start this week on, because the rate hike with the federal funds, hyperinflation, everything that's going on, uncertainty in the market. So it says delinquencies remain a rare event, even as loans age and become prone to credit issues, according to Stav Gallion, head of securitized products research and strategy for the Academy Securities, in note to the clients. One of the industrial loans tied to commercial mortgage-backed securities that are in various stages of delinquency, a total balance of about $152 million. That's 9 loans, or 84% of the delinquent balance, are for so-called flex properties. So it's not your Class A 34 clear height properties that are being, securitized. This is more coming down to the flex space. Flex industrial sites combine an office and a warehouse component, essentially comprising of exposure to the more precarious offer sector, right? Aside from flex, the industrial sector is benefiting from strong long-term tailwinds that the pandemic accelerated, such as the rising e-commerce, i.e., Amazon, as well as some new ones, including a shift to just-in-case inventories in the reassuring of manufacturing. That just-in-case inventories is because of the bottleneck
of the supply chain and everything that's been occurring with the current economy. I think what's interesting here to see is, I think one of the first articles I've seen in a long time would actually even bring up delinquency, right? And the concerns about delinquency. I think when you look at some of these assets, I mean, everybody talks about e-commerce. How is industrial going to struggle with the rise of e-commerce? Well, I don't think the average person understands that a lot of these e-commerce industrial spaces are more the Class A, the larger distribution centers, right? This article seemed to me more focusing on what your typical Class C, Class B asset type, where you'll find your, mom and pop mechanic. You may find your smaller businesses. I mean, I don't know where this is going with, because it doesn't really go into details.
Well, let me say, it says, still, troubled industrial situations do pop up and can reveal aspects to watch. The sector's red-hot fundamentals may also be decelerating on some corners, he said. Notably, Amazon is looking to sublease at least 10 million square feet of a warehouse. They want to sublease. According to the press reports, the giant industrial tenant may also look to end or renegotiate leases, a move with potentially direct implications to property cash flows. That's on the industrial side with CMBS loans.
Right.
Now, on the office side, it says office risk high in suburbs. Not in your Brickell, not in your Wynwood, not on your beach, but in your suburbs. It says vacancy rate in New York City jumped to a record high of 12.2, while downtown Manhattan's availability rose to a record high of 20% in May.
Wow.
With this amid, CMBS strategist for the Bank of America Securities updated the analysts of CMBS exposure to office tenants. So let me read that again. It says the office vacancy in New York City jumped to 12, while downtown Manhattan, so downtown Manhattan is seeing 20% vacancy as of now. Said Todd previously concluded that loans collateralized by office properties that were more recently constructed, so new development, are likely to perform the best. Also, the central business district office loans are more often underwritten more fully than suburban office loans, as such as suburban office suffered weaker performance.
Well, suburban office has always been higher risk. To some degree. You're not going to have the sexy appeal you would here in the Brickell area, or the even the what we're seeing now, the big development going on in Miami Beach, Palm Beach, Wall Street of the South. We all know that. So you don't have in these suburban offices. Very rarely you find. I can't even think of one that comes to mind that has the availability where you can just start the pedestrian. Let's start with that. You want to go out and get a bite to eat, you got to jump in your car and drive somewhere in the suburban locations, right? If you work in an office. So if you're on the clock, you got to clock out an hour for lunch.
Where's the Suburbans?
Suburban, for me, where I think of suburban office is Kendall. I think of
out in your neck of the woods.
Nah, my neck of the woods. I live in Palmetto Bay, man. No. I live in South Pinecrest.
Palmetto Bay is the suburbs, my friend. So let me finish this. Now breaking out weakness by properties facing tenant lease expirations before loans are due. Todd again found that suburban office properties had a higher percentage. And looking at buildings quality, he found that Class B and C properties had a higher percentage. That makes sense, right? Suburban and Class B or C, right? It's older properties.
With limited amenities. No amenities. Just some of these don't have any at all.
So the exposure to expiring leases prior to maturity highlights the fact that investors need to remain diligent in their underwriting and office collateral. To the extent a tenant's lease expires and it isn't renewed, it increases the possibility and likelihood that, depending on a building's particular attributes in the market in which it is located, attracting a new tenant may be difficult. So that's very I like that because, it talks about underwriting. It talks about if you're, looking at the value of an office property in the suburbs, BC, make sure that you're paying attention on the on the lease term, and if the lease is expiring, what's the probability of that lease being able to be absorbed?
Well, when we do our models, it's no longer the 75, 80% renewal probability you might get in the CBD areas. Probably going to look at a higher, probably a lower renewal probability, probably closer to the 60, 65%, depending on. Also, it all boils down to who's the tenant. you know, if it's an attorney, accountant, most likely you're going to have a higher probability of renewal. So we got to focus on two when we look at these types of properties. Who's the tenant? If it's how long have they been there? Have they
Well, I mean,
exercised their options?
that's what they're pointing at is
Yeah.
that who's the tenant, where's it located,
Right.
what's the property type, what's the year that it was, built, what's the condition, and putting all that underwriting, especially with the the environment right now with high inflation, and if you're in the suburbs and you're a local business, maybe you can't afford that rent anymore. Everyone talks about robust rent. Rent's going up.
Exactly.
It's increased 20%. Well, comes a point where that business might not be able to make that rent, and they might just stay at home and work.
Well,
like
I think the pandemic played a big role in some of this as well, because pre-pandemic, you had people obligated to go to work, and people didn't even think about working from home. Nor did businesses realize at that time that you could overhead costs. You can probably save some money having some of your employees come to the office maybe 3 times a week, so they can turn around and then negotiate their lease for a smaller space.
But honestly, who really cares about suburban office when you've got people that want to build the highest building
in
South Florida?
South Florida. That is a good point. A good segue, too, to the next article. Swire-related plans the tallest...
Yeah, that's it, dude.
Yeah, my internet crashed for a little
Swire Properties has revealed Swire, Chinese.
Chinese.
They built Brickell City Center.
Yep. They have revealed the long-awaited plan for One Brickell City Center, which will become the tallest building in Florida after joining forces.
Tallest building in Florida.
This is that parcel for all of you out there on the corner of 7th and Brickell.
Yes.
It is the only vacant land parcel that you see.
It's
on
right
that,
outside, across the street from us.
We walk by it all
adjacent.
the time. It's pretty cool to see finally something coming up in that area.
What do you mean something?
It's been vacant
Yeah, but
for
that's
the past 3 or 4 years since I've been here.
but it's a piece of grass that they could use
yeah.
as a dog park. Half the
even
block
use it as a
down,
dog
they got
park. It's fenced
830
in.
Brickell. That is the most beautiful Class A property that it's almost 60% leased, and we're going to get to it in the next article. Right there.
Right,
So-
but it was an eyesore. I mean, you'll walk by there. It was fenced in.
eyesore.
It's not even used as a dog park or anything. It's fenced in. You can't even if you
Yeah,
tell
but
me
it's
it
nice.
Had,
It's not
but
an
if you-
eyesore.
But if you told me it had nice greenery, maybe food
It
trucks
does.
going there.
It's not food trucks, but it's
Well,
grass, and
it's-
it looks like a...
I don't know. It was just to me every time I walk by them.
Wow,
when are they
now I
finally
wish
gonna
I had
break
a
ground?
picture.
Yeah. New York-based
eyesore.
related
Come on.
company led by billionaire Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross will team with Hong Kong-based Swire on the mega development. It will serve as the second phase of the 4.9 million square foot Brickell City Center mixed-use project. One Brickell City Center will soar about 1,000 feet. Currently, the tallest building in both Miami and Florida is the Panorama Tower at 868 feet. That's pretty.
That's the
That's pretty
Hollow.
cool.
That's right down the street from us, which is the sponsorship of the FIU Real Estate Grad School. They're the sponsors of that. The Hollows have been in this market forever.
Yeah.
And they own the tallest building right now. Beautiful building too.
And now they're in a JV to get the
No,
tallest in the state.
no, they're not JVing it. It say JVing it, did it?
I don't know.
No, it said the JV is Ross and
Oh, that's
Swire.
right. And Swire. You good point. I got mixed
But I
up
think
because of
it's-
Panorama.
I think it's interesting that Ross is, and I don't know all of Ross's portfolio, but I think it's, Ross is usually with Related Group, which is, completely correlated with multifamily. And
well,
now this
all
is
the
office.
articles we've been
This
talking
is
about
Class A office.
has been office. If you look in Palm Beach, he has office.
Oh, you're right. You're
So
right.
it's some of the articles we've been reading about and
You're right.
discussions we've had. It seems like his group is kind of gravitating more into the Class A office.
Well, I wouldn't say more, but it's diversified,
yeah.
with that in his portfolio. 1,000 feet high, currently
Yeah.
the tallest building in Miami, Florida. That's unreal. This would be the largest office building in South Florida. One Brickell City Center solidifies Swire Properties and related companies' belief in the future of the Miami real estate market, Bauer said, as the city continues to evolve to become a global hub of commerce, finance, and technology. One Brickell City Center will play an important role in attracting exceptional companies that want to make Miami their home. Miami has been a hotspot for corporate relocations and expansions during the pandemic, especially among technology and financial companies. We see that everywhere.
Everywhere.
The beach to Wynwood to Brickell. That has resulted in record growth in office rents. The nearby 830, like we were just talking about, Brickell Office Tower project, for instance, has secured big-name tenants ahead of its completion. Related companies. This move is in an all for South Florida office market. The company is also the largest builder of Class A office space in downtown West Palm Beach, just like you were talking about. In New York, the company developed a massive office complex at the Hudson Yards. What else does it say? Like, one Brickell City Center will be located at east side of mixed use. You said this already, which already includes a 500,000 square foot shopping, entertainment. Yeah, so it's connected to the Brickell City Center, which everyone loves. This would replace. So the Miami-based Aquatim Design, the developers aim to start construction in 2023. It will replace a 10-story office building. Oh,
that's right. Must be that building right.
So they're taking not only the place the land that's vacant,
the building next door.
They're going to demo the building next door.
Interesting. That's right next to the.
You missed that one. Read
the
article.
I did. That's that building right next to the Metro Mover. It's a little bit at the tent. Right next. I think it's the one next to the Metro Mover.
No, this says it replaced a 10-story office building.
Yeah, the building right next to the Metro Mover.
No, and then what about the office building that's on Brickell?
There's no office building on Brickell. That's a vacant land. That's on the corner.
Next to it.
I thought that was newer. That's where the Flemings is. Maybe I'm confused.
No, Flemings is one block.
A good point. Wow.
I think it's that building.
It might be. We missed it. We were looking at the maps. Well, you know what threw me off was the article had said 7 and Brickell and Miami East Hotel. Yeah, but listen. I mean, this is huge because, once they finish 830 Brickell, this is going to be the next office building going to be up, and it's going to be a strong. We're seeing the demand, which, speaking of 830, New York-based insurance and financial service company what's the name of this company here? I'm on a roll today. Company from New York. It doesn't even say the name. Lease 20,000 square feet at 830 Brickell. ACAP. There we go. A New York-based insurance and financial service company with over $6 billion in assets under management has secured a lease for 20,000 square feet of office space on the 35th floor of 830 Brickell. It's been pretty cool watching that building be developed, since we've been here. I think with the last 3 years, I think we're probably looking at about another year, before it's finished. The 55-story, 640,000 square foot tower at 830 Brickell Plaza. It's slated for completion later this year, and it's already more than 60% leased, according to the developer. The pandemic has accelerated the trend for wealthy individuals and well-paid remote workers migrating to South Florida, with the rest of U.S. brokers and developers having told the Business Journal. At the same time, hundreds of out-of-state companies have opened satellite offices in the region, particularly in high-demand neighborhoods such as Brickell, Wynwood, and West Palm Beach downtown area. Most of these companies prefer to be located, upgraded, or top-of-the-line Class A buildings, brokers said. The space in 830 building is desirable among big tenants that its asking lease rate is on $100 a square.
$100.
$100.
People don't understand that.
No. People automatically think, $100.
I think people in New York understand that.
Not here.
Maybe San Francisco.
New York, San Fran, maybe
people
Chicago.
in Miami understand it.
No,
not in anywhere else in Florida.
No, but I can't.
I wonder what Chicago is. You should have asked when you were at your meeting.
I should have asked. Yeah, I'm curious because, $100. And this building's nice. It has, but hey.
What do you mean it's
welcome
nice?
To Miami.
Is the nicest building in Miami right now. Now, compared to 700 Brickell, that'll be built after that.
After the fact, yeah.
It'll have to compete with 830. And I'm wondering if they waited to see the demand in 830 to pull the trigger to build.
Good point.
700.
Keep in mind, too, 830 right now, that's 60%
It says the project comes as both residential and office rents have sharply increased in Miami. The city is attracting more wealthy residents with high tax states from high tax states, and companies are following them, especially in Brickell. Hotels are also charging more as tourism market rebounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's $100, and that's $100 triple net.
Wow.
It's amazing. So what else we got going on here? So here's another. I mean, I guess we're just gonna talk a little bit about
Office on fire, man. Now we got a
little bit about office today. Private equity firm signs a lease in Wynwood. This is a project that I worked on, 545 Wynn, a Class A office building in the Wynwood Arts District. Local real estate private equity firm that also invests in solar and mining has signed a lease for 5,300 square foot. The company will move out of its office space right down the road into the brand new 545 Wynn, which has great amenities. I mean, their gym. They also have this great common area space that goes from inside outside with barbecues. I mean, it's a whole other level of office space that's common area for their tenants. Especially you're in Wynwood, which is literally, I wish we were moving our office there, because that is the hub now. Mana spoke about it, but it's coming true without him.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because I remember this deal when we were looking at it. Just the specs, the OM, everything you talked about, it's a beautiful facility. What I find interesting now is, we were just talking about rents, and according to CoStar, $63.50.
Right. So I'm gonna back up one paragraph before.
Actually, I take it back.
Before you
It's from
get there.
Colliers.
Yeah. So it says standing 10 stories high and totaling 325,000 square foot. This is a fact that I didn't know. 545 Wynn is the largest building in the Wynwood Arts District.
Interesting.
Yeah, the surrounding area is transforming rapidly into a hub for tech and venture capital companies, thanks in part to its out-of-state business opening satellite and branch office in South Florida. And then here comes the paragraph that you were just reading. Within Miami-Dade County, the Wynwood and Design District areas share the second highest asking rates for office space in the first quarter of 2022, averaging $63.50 triple net square. No, that's not triple net.
No, okay.
That's full service. According to the recent report from Colliers, the area with the highest asking rate was Brickell. And I would have to say that I would think, now they're going on information that's available to them, but I would say that the beach is second. The first is Brickell, the beach is second,
and then Wynwood. Well, also too, Wynwood and
think about it. We didn't mention downtown.
No, that's interesting. Downtown Miami, not even in this conversation.
No. Courthouse, lawyers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It will be.
Absolutely.
It will be.
There's no doubt about it. Because what's going to happen is,
that's where Mana's going to show.
We're seeing Brickell right now where they're saying average $73.23 a square, right? We just talked about the top, the ceiling right now, which 100, maybe a little bit above 100, which was 830. Right now, today,
I mean,
the ceiling will be the top.
That's yes.
And I think with this number here is,
and that's with views, amenities,
right,
everything,
right. And when we
you have to offer that to get that price point,
right. And if you start asking around and talking to local brokers, they'll tell you that even in Brickell, you may find some hidden gems here and there for lower tier office. So that kind of throws this number down a little bit.
Yeah, numbers are all over the place.
They're all over the place because in Wynwood, what you're not going,
well, what Class A is leveling up.
Correct.
Right? We're in a Class A building right now that just renovated the 801 Brickell, renovated the whole place. Colliers does the leasing, JLL does the property management, and we have a first time gym now in here, and marbles everywhere. But now it's been updated. But now these new places like 830 or this 700,
they're all coming in with it with all. But
they've got helicopter pads and things.
Yeah, exactly. But here's what I was going with Wynwood. This $63 a square. It's the first. It's brand new. It's the first of its kind in Wynwood. This type of product.
Well, that's the average of Wynwood. That's not just 545.
Right. But some of these. My question is, well, a lot of these leases pre-lease. We're building a brand new building. We're going to entice new tenants to come in to the front end. We're going to offer you a little bit of a break to sign up front. So is that the true market?
No,
I would
there's
probably
no
argue
break. There's no break.
There's no break. I was going to say I would probably argue maybe
that's
higher.
slab to slab. Those are big TIs. That's
right.
Nice build
I would
outs.
argue it's probably
That's a
higher.
very nice building. That's the
a
building that
beautiful
you when you're traveling down 95
Yeah.
North. That's the building that you see in Wynwood.
It sticks out.
Yeah.
It's the tallest building in Wynwood. You
Yeah.
can't miss it.
Yeah.
It's interesting now.
But the amenities in that building is cool, man.
I'll tell you
Big
what.
outdoor patios and things like that. I mean, it's really like pretty cool.
In 3 years from now, we're going to be
3
sitting here
years.
having this
2022,
conversation.
2025. You're saying?
2025.
Okay. What do you think is going to be going on in 2025, Ralph Pena?
I'm curious to see what downtown plays into all this. Because if you can't afford Wynwood,
Good point,
you
man.
can't
It's a
afford
good point.
Brickell, where are you going to go to next? We don't have an article about it, but this is just an observer here saying, all right, to the north, I'm priced out. To the south, I'm priced out. I'm not going to go to the burbs. Where am I going to go next? Where are investors going to look at next? Let's get these older buildings in downtown and just let's change it. Thought we'd had a bad rap. I mean, right now, you and I are talking, right? You're getting priced out in the east, in Miami Beach. So where's this little pocket that nobody's looking at right now, even talk? They may be looking and talking.
And we didn't even talk about the new office building being built south of 5th, which is going to have big leases because that is an area that has high
but we're away from downtown.
tenants. I mean, that's...
Well, I'm talking downtown. If you really think about it, it's an oasis. You're priced out east. You're
Just
priced
call it
out
downtown
north.
office, an
Yeah.
oasis.
Well,
the CBD is an oasis to Ralph Pena.
I just look at it as if I'm an investor, I'm looking at this area going, wait a minute. You're right by the courthouse. You're right by the government centers.
Yeah, but
and you're not gonna
there's
pay
a
these
lot of
crazy-
office being built as well as in the World Center area. In that aspect, there's
But then
more
no-
retail, but there is office going up over
Then
there.
if there
Office,
are whoever
retail.
doing the marketing, I mean,
don't think
we've
it's-
read, how many trades have we read since we've been doing this podcast?
Yeah.
How often do you hear the word downtown Miami office mentioned?
Never.
That's my point.
Yeah. Oh, maybe they're not building it in the World Center. Maybe they're only building retail over there.
But that, I'm looking at these numbers, right? These crazy numbers we're seeing. We've seen the crazy numbers in the beach. We've seen the crazy numbers in Brickell. We're seeing the burbs are struggling. Where else is there to go? Where's the growth? Where's the opportunity going to come in right now? Where can you buy right now as an investor? Come in, buy an old, average to below average condition office building with little to no amenities. Come in, gut it. Look what Mana's doing with Tesla right now.
Yeah, but that's not. No. You're sidetracking. No, an investor's not going to go in and look for an old office building to rehab or reposition. Those are all over the place.
Talking about demolishing and just starting again, building like
Well,
like a
what we're
related
talking
coming
about
in.
is all new rents, new construction.
Yeah, good point. That's a good point.
So who wants to be in Allapattah?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
got medical over there.
Medical. I can see medical, but more. I go back to.
There's enough room downtown, and there's more room in Wynwood, and there's more room.
Well, there's more land in Wynwood. I think in Wynwood, the advantage you have is, but here's the thing: land right now. Well, not necessarily. Downtown land pretty.
Yeah, but you have to understand of the environment that's going on right now with the rates and with huge companies that who wants to relocate right now when cost of goods is expensive. So maybe they have more sales, but it's squeezing the margin and their shares are going to go down. So what happens next? Unemployment is going to decrease. So you have that mix that's going on in the background.
Right.
Right? As we look at where's this going to happen? Where's development's going to happen? Optimistic. But what's going on in real life, we're going to get to that. So what's the next article?
Let's see what we got here.
Your article.
My
Mr.
article,
Beckham.
Mr. Beckham. Yeah. Speaking of growth,
All the
speaking of
Hispanics. This is you guys' thing, raise the flag.
Hispanic, what do you? Yeah, the
Yeah,
partner. Yeah,
right.
of course, man.
Soccer, bro. Football.
Soccer, football.
What do you guys call it?
No, I'm more of Americano football. This has been going on for a while. This is for those of you out there drive into Miami International Airport. There is this golf course that you drive by. Looks nice right now. I drove by there on Monday. That is a Mel Reef golf course. David Beckham proposed Major League Soccer stadium surrounding mixed-use development just cleared another hurdle. The Miami Urban Development Review on Wednesday approved the design for a 25,000-seat stadium and nearly 5,000 car parking garage, as well as a master plan for a broader project, which includes hotel, office, and public park. The vote is preliminary, as another city board and then the city commission will need to sign off on it. Now, this is pretty cool because with
That's very cool, and it's going to be it's going to transform that area. But I never knew what was underneath that land.
Yeah. What for those of you out there, that used to be a landfill. And we'll get into that in a second. The decision is another milestone for the Miami Freedom Park project, a permanent home for Inter Miami Soccer Club. That basically what they did, they signed a 99-year lease on the city-owned Mel Reef Golf Course Country Club. Now, the Urban Development Board to greenlight the project, the design designated allowed for some wiggle room on the building regulation in exchange for public benefit. Now, this is where it gets dicey when we're talking about the ground rent. I mean, the development is limited to 160 feet, which they have to agree to that because of the airport. You're right by the airport.
Yeah,
you
the
have
aviation, zoning, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Now, the design, they're going to do a parking car garage structure.
It's a big multi-use fucking.
And guess what? The developer is also on the hook for the remediation of the former garbage incinerator site at their own cost.
AKA trash?
Trash. Landfill. Makes sense why there's a
I
golf
never knew
course
that.
there.
This could be a first. You might be exposing information that nobody knows right now.
Pretty sure it's been out there for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense. You go from trash to golf course. People driving.
I never knew that. I mean, are you exposing dirty laundry right now?
Now, it's funny because the city now, part of the contention leading up to the commission vote on the lease was over the developer's lease, which opponents have argued is below market rate at a time when land values have skyrocketed. Yes, but I always say this, I'm looking at this going, well, you're not going to get top of the line market rate lease on a landfill.
Why?
Former landfill. The environmental remediation, you got to spend money to clean it up. You can't just come in there and start developing on it. So are you going to pay top dollars?
So it's okay. Say it again.
The land.
But what was that last sentence that you read though? That they said that the lease is coming in underneath market value.
It says here, part of the I'm gonna repeat it. Part of the contention leading up to the commission's vote on the lease was over the developer's lease, which opponents have argued is below market rate at a time when land values have skyrocketed. Well,
so the commission's saying, hey, we should be charging more.
Right, and the developer's saying, well, geez, I got to remediate this.
The developer did the
below market. They're saying they're paying below market. Developer,
but they did the phase 1 or phase 2.
Well, whatever they did, but the developer.
Well, that's what that's where they're getting their numbers.
And the developer's saying, I got to pay for this remediation.
And the commission has no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah. So you're telling me that I got to pay market rate for a property that I got to invest money to clean up before? Oh, by the way, before I could even lay a rebar in the ground, like I have to clean this up. So it's kind of interesting to see that the city in one end trying to squeeze every penny they can to try to get the max dollars on the ground lease, right? They're arguing that a developer who's willing to remediate the site.
How big is the site?
I probably missed it. Let me see here. Pretty big. I mean, it's a golf course. I mean, golf courses generally.
No, I'm just wondering because the next article I'm going to talk about a polo ground. It's 161 acre in Wellington.
You know, it's funny. I did, in this particular article, I did not see the size. It focuses more on the approval because they're going to develop. I mean, this is huge.
Speaking the microphone.
Yeah, it doesn't really. Maybe I missed it.
It's all right.
All right, go for it.
No, but I mean that's cool. I mean, yeah, I never knew that's a piece of property. If you've ever been in Miami and you've gone to the airport, you've definitely getting off on Lejeune to go to the airport, or if you know most people that is the corridor, right? You see the golf course to the right of you, and to have Beckham there, have this soccer field being built there with the whole multi-use, offices and retail and hotel, it's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But it's kind of like a scary movie, right? You know what I mean?
It's 135 acres.
Whoa, okay. This
That's
is
the side of the golf
Wellington
course.
is 161, and then it's 135 acres.
Yeah.
Big site. And you're like, yeah, this used to be
A landfill.
landfill. Is there any radiation? Is there any gases? What's going on?
Yeah,
You know?
and here's the city.
You're gonna have all the people going, go!
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you got somebody willing to come in now and reposition this site.
It's not somebody. This is a huge, figure in our culture.
Coming in with mass and mass.
A legend.
Yeah.
In the soccer, in the football, industry, coming in with investors wanting to give Miami a team, right?
Yeah, no, they have. What I find funny about all this, which we have yet,
We're putting them on a.
Yeah, I have yet to see anybody talk about once this is all said and done. Have you ever tried to go in and out of that location?
Of what? Well,
going into the airport and coming out?
Stop.
There you go.
Okay, so Mark Bellismo of Sells International Polo Club, Palm Beach, for $95 million. How much did they buy that one? Is there a price on that one?
No, it's a ground lease.
I know, but is there a price
No,
on the
the
ground
city
lease?
owns it. They're leasing. It doesn't say.
There is a value to the
There's
ground
a
lease.
value to a ground lease, but
What's the rent?
it doesn't say.
Okay.
It doesn't specify.
Okay, I'll take you off the hook. Okay, so this one back to Wellington, which is the equestrian place, right?
Right.
And you think about Palm Beach County, Palm Beach Island, Trump, rich people. Now you go west, right?
Right.
To where people want to ride horses, and I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about major people like Gates, and I'll get to that into the article.
Back to
this
Beckham.
This is a
At 4.3 million.
that was how much the ground lease is.
That's the ground. That's the payment, the annual base payment.
Annual
Base payment.
how much?
4.3 million.
Okay. How long's the lease?
99 year.
So 99 years, the city's going to get 4.3
million
and I bet they're getting some kind of percentage
from
too.
about 3.6 million increase.
I'm tired of talking about Miami. Let's talk about Palm Beach.
Go for it.
So the deal for the 161-acre property in Wellington includes fields, social club, and restaurant. Here's what is, I don't want to say exciting or interesting, I guess, is that they had multiple buyers or proposed buyers.
Okay.
right? And some of them were, who do you think?
Saudis? Russians?
So what are you talking about, man? No, 161 acres. That's someone that wants to develop.
Big
man.
time, yeah.
This is a developer, So they want. So it says Wellington developer Mark Bellismo sold the International Polo Club Palm Beach in Wellington for $95 million.
Wow.
Doesn't seem like that much money. There's an office site right down the road that sold for $100 million.
Yeah.
That is basically, I don't know, a quarter of an acre. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is
This is 161 acres, and it's sold for $95 million, not even $100 million. So maybe the polo industry is not generating that much cash. I think someone should do a ground lease on this one. Anyways, the cool thing about it is that the seller sold to someone who's actually going to keep it as a polo place.
Really?
Yeah. Lake Worth Beach-based United States Polo Association bought the 161-acre property, southwest blah, blah, blah. According to, I hate when they just go into addresses and stuff like that. The deal covers the majority of the 240-acre Polo Club property, Blaze Mill and Equestrian Rhythm, bought for 72. Why does it say 248 acres? Right? I guess they sold 161 acres.
Okay.
So they sold a majority of it of the stake, right?
But what are they going to do out there? I mean, they're going to
Nothing.
keep it at the
Yes.
That's it. So it's just going to go back, basically just transferred, go into
Right.
the.
So in 2016, 248 acres sold for 72 million.
Okay.
So now in 5 years later, half of that sold for double that, more.
Wow.
Yeah, it sold for 95 million, but it only sold for a portion of the 248 acres. The cool thing is that included in USBA's purchase are fields 1 through 5, the Outback field. Okay, so they're keeping all the but where is the part that I like in release? It says in the release, Belismo said that they choose USPA over competing buyers' offers as well as real estate development proposals as a way to ensure that this fundamental pillar of Wellington equestrian domain will be there for the next 100 years.
Interesting.
I don't know how they can say that 100 years.
No.
You know what I mean?
There's too much of a demand.
It says
for
USBA, led by, exactly, there's too much of a demand, and we need it, right? Will continue to host the gauntlet of the Polo 3-month competition at the property and also expand tournaments. This year, the USPA will bring the Federation of International Polo World Championship to the October 26th, blah, blah, blah. Bliss Mill, managing partner, majority shareholder of Wellington Equestrian Partners, has been selling off his properties. So this guy's been selling off the properties. Last year, he sold Palm Beach International Equestrian Center at Pearson Road, west of State Road 7th in Wellington, to a Danish company, Global Equestrian Group, led by CEO Andreas Helsgren. The property has since been rebranded Wellington International. A purchase price was not disclosed. It says Wellington in the western Palm Beach County is home to equestrian estates of various sizes that have attracted high-profile buyers. This is what I was pointing to earlier. Bill Gates, Michael Bloomberg, a couple big guys, right?
Yeah.
Here's another one. Billy Joel and his equestrian wife, Alexis. Oh, here's another one. Guy from the armpit place of New Jersey. Bruce Springsteen and Laura Powell Jobs, the widow of the Apple co-founder Steve Jobs, all have had ties to Wellington. In May, ex-Enron executive Lou Pye and his wife Melanie bought the equestrian estate. They bought an equestrian estate for $8 million. The property includes blah, blah, blah. In October, Nancy Malneck, the wife of the Forge co-founder, she bought a place for $12 million. Says that same month, Louis Jacobs, a member of the billionaire Jacobs family that owns the NHL Boston Bruins, as well as the team's arena, TD Garden, bought the equestrian estate at $11 million. So this just goes to show you that, this is it's demanding big, high-paying people to come out to this area. So if you do away with this equestrian polo thing, I mean, I guess if you're the owner of the polo fields, maybe you're not generating so much cash flow.
Right.
But the surrounding area
is
the housing.
It gives the area a unique character, right? The prestige.
Yes.
You don't want to take away. I guess
as a business owner, might not make sense.
I would agree. And
he's selling it all.
Right, but
that's sad.
What do you associate Wellington with?
They'll all sell.
Yeah,
you know that, right?
I would agree.
And they're gonna that area is gonna be left with big mansions
at a discounted price.
Yeah,
at a discounted price. So I could understand somebody.
Guess we're moving to Wellington.
Yeah, we'll get there someday. Aspirations, man.
That's
now let's put a damper on the day. Mortgage rate flirt with 6%, but silver lining exists.
Silver lining. Go with that one.
Yeah. After reaching record-breaking lows during the pandemic, mortgage rates have been climbing at a similarly historic pace this year, worrying brokers and especially buyers. This week, rates reach another milestone. The average 30-year fixed mortgage rate throughout the U.S. exceeded 6% Monday, just 2 months after breaching 5% barrier. 100 basis points in 2 months. That's insane. Also on Monday, the stock market plummeted into bear market territory on alarming inflation numbers, and the Federal Reserve expected response. Yes, we're going to bump it up 75 more basis points. The central bank is expected to raise the rate. No secret here. Now, while mortgage rates increase have been steep, industry professionals are quick to point out that historically speaking, 6% interest on a home loan is quite reasonable. Would you call that a silver lining? When a year ago you could have gotten 3.5%?
Not a year ago. It's not a year ago. It's 6 months ago. And in January you could have got 2.65. It's not a year ago. A year ago you could have got probably lower.
And of course, everybody liked to bring up the 80s. What, 40 years ago when it was 18%?
Wait, who wants to bring up the 80s right now except for you?
No, it says it here. Oh. After all, in the early 80s, it reached 18%.
Yeah.
And it's like, I might think, why are we bringing up the 80s? Kind of what you were saying. In near memory, 6% is crazy high. This is their positive spin and silver lining. They bring up 40 years, what the rate was 40 years ago.
Who's that article from?
The Real Deal.
Yeah, but who wrote it?
The person that wrote it is Calais Lapara. Sorry, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Which is kind of, I like, they always try to put that little positive
30 years,
spin.
right?
In what, the 80s?
40 years.
40 years. Yeah. Born in 82, you're 40 years old right now. It's kind of crazy.
I wasn't born in 82.
Prior to the pandemic, the average mortgage rate on a 30-year fixed loan hovered below 4%. After a modest initial spike
4%?
in March, 2020, the rate mostly remained between 2 and 3%, to what you just pointed out, to the end of last year.
And it says for today, Thursday, June 16, 2022, the average rate for the benchmark 30-year fixed rate is 5.91%, up 37 basis points from a week ago. Yeah. 37 basis points from a week ago. If you're looking to refinance, the national average 30-year refinance rate is 5.89, an increase of 36 basis points from a week ago. That's crazy. Meanwhile, the national 15-year fixed refinance rate is 5.10, an increase of 36 basis points since the last time. They were just waiting for that, the feds to say something about that, I don't know, man. So the 10-year right now, 10-year Treasury, Wall Street Journal says that it's at 3.205. That was today. We've been tracking that constantly, and now it's staying above the 3%, which was like crazy and hasn't happened for multiple years.
Yeah.
It's unreal what's going on. So I've got the next one. We've only got a couple more. I know you got to get out of here, go see your lovely wife, eat a nice steak dinner. But this one's a little bit more important, Mr. Ralph Pena. It says U.S. economic growth shows signs of slipping.
Well,
what is your outcome of the next 6 months?
My outcome?
Yeah. What does it say? What are you doing?
What do
you think?
What do I think?
And I'm going to read this article.
I have no idea, man. You would have told me 6 months ago would be at 5.85%. I don't know. I really don't know.
What was your loan?
2.85.
Good for you. Recession fears creep in as key sectors such as housing and consumer spending succumb to high inflation and rising interest rates. Okay, it says the U.S. economy is starting to slow under this combined weight of soaring inflation and the climbing interest rates, including the highest mortgage rates since 2008, like we've been talking about and tracking. The recent reports show sharp declines in key sectors, raising the prospects of a stalled economic recovery and possibly, a recession. Home construction across the U.S. fell sharply in May. The Commerce Department said Thursday factories in the Mid-Atlantic region reduced activity for the first time in 2 years this month. Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia said, and Americans broadly cut spending at retailers for the first time this year in May. The Commerce Department said earlier this week, economics have slashed their projections for the second quarter output growth in recent days. One closing watched forecast, the Federal Reserve Bank of the Atlantic tracker estimates that the gross domestic product is on track to remain unchanged at an annual rate over the 3 months through June 20th. Output fell at 1.5 annual rate and quarter in the first quarter. Those figures suggest that the persistent supply shortages, a 40-year high in inflation, and the Federal Reserve's aggressive efforts to tame price pressures by raising interest rates are cooling the world's largest economy. The Fed's on Wednesday raised its benchmark interest rate by 0.75 percentage point, the biggest increase since 1994, and signaled further increases in this year.
That's insane.
What do you think?
1994. I don't know.
Where were you in 1994?
Freshman in college. Where were you?
Freshman in college, 1994. I was 1994. I was either opening the Delano here in Miami Beach or heading back to LA, because I graduated in 1992, moved to Vail, Colorado, went to LA, came back somewhere around 93, 94 in Miami Beach, opened the Delano, and then went back to LA to open another hotel called
94. I graduated in 93, started college. I was a freshman going into sophomore year of college.
94?
Yeah. I graduated in 93.
Yeah. Where'd you go to college?
Florida International University.
Oh, FIU. It's a very nice place, man. I happen to be a professional. A professor there.
I may question the professional, but the professor, okay. All right.
Yeah, wait, hold on, though.
It's
so
crazy.
The last one. The last article. I don't know if you want to read the title.
Let me get it out here. Feds hike its benchmark interest rate by 0.75 of a point, the biggest increase, this is from CNBC, since 1994. The Federal Reserve on Wednesday launched its biggest broad-sided yet against inflation, raising benchmark interest rate 0.75 of a percentage point in a move that equates to the most aggressive hike since 1994. Ending weeks of speculation, the rate-setting Federal Open Market Committee took the level of its benchmark fund rate to a range of 1.5% to 1.75%, the highest since just before the COVID pandemic in March of 2020. Stocks were volatile after the decision, but turned higher as Fed Chairman Jerome Powell spoke at the post-meeting news conference. Clearly today's 75 basis point increase is an unusually large one, and I do not expect moves of this size to be common, Powell said. He added, though, that he expects the July meeting to see an increase of 50 or 75 basis points. He said decisions will be made meeting by meeting. It's going to go up another 57. It's going to go up at least 75 basis points. I mean, this is... I like how he says, I do not expect moves of this side to be common. But yet, in the next meeting, I'm going to go 50 to 75 basis points.
You know,
Is that a contradiction?
Well, it says inflation projection as gauged by personal consumption expenditures also rose to 5.2% this year, with 4.3% through core inflation, which excludes rapidly rising food. And look, yes, I believe he's going to do it. Yes, he talks about how it says officials will also significantly cut the outlook for 2020 economic growth, now anticipating just a 1.7 gain in GDP. That's down from 2.8 from March. So in March they thought the GDP was going to raise 2.8%, and now they're saying no, 1.7% going forward. Strongly committed to a 2% inflation goal. The Fed's move comes from inflation running at its fastest pace in more than 40 years. Central bank officials use the funds rate to try to slow down the economy, in this case to tamp down demand so that supply can catch up. However, the post-meeting statement removed a long-used phrase indicating that the FOMC expects the inflation to return to its 2% objective and that the labor market to remain strong. The statement only noted that the Fed's strongly committed to this goal. The policy is tightening, is happening with the economic growth already tailing off. They're committed, man.
Yeah.
They're committed to keep adding. If it goes all the way down, it says all of those factors have combined to complement Powell's hopes for a soft or softish landing that he expressed in May. But rate tightening cycles in the past often have resulted in recessions. So yeah, man, we're in a recession. They're not saying that we're in a recession yet because the Q2
they won't say it.
The numbers, no, they will. The Q2 numbers haven't come out yet.
I agree, but they won't say it right now because if
they can't.
They can't. Yeah.
Recession has to be 2 quarters that have dropped for GDP.
Interesting. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens because I don't know. I really don't know. It would just.
So what do you think about the Fed's outcome of raising it 75 basis points rather than 50 basis points?
Repeat that again.
What do you think what's the difference of raising 75 basis points rather than 50 basis points?
I think it's more of the sticker shock than anything else, even though it's probably not that big of a, when you think about it from a monetary standpoint, it's not that huge of a difference, but from a sticker shock, news flash, those 25 basis points make a difference. People react differently. If I tell you we're only going to go up 50 basis point, okay, 75, it's like, whoa, right?
Yeah,
it's
they had said 50, and then he came out and said 75. So I think that you're spot on by saying that it's almost like clickbait.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You thought 50. We're doing 75.
Yeah.
And you know what? We might do it again.
Yep.
The market's going to react. We're going to react. And we also are going to talk about it. So that's another week. And let's talk real estate. Please, if you like the content, subscribe below, hit the like button, and we'll see you next week. I'm David Maggard. This is Ralph Pena.
Have a good one, everyone.
Have a good one. Ciao.